Story and answer 2, whose money is it? Louise Stamberg lived in the 1900s, and she liked to save money a lot. But she didn't like banks. She didn't trust banks. So she would put her money in cans, and then she stood on a chair in her kitchen, and she put the cans in the ceiling. She hid the money. She would hide the money in the ceiling of her kitchen. And some of the money she wanted to give to her niece, whose name was Olga, when she died. She wanted to give. So on some of the cans she wrote Olga's name. This money is for Olga. And then one day Louise gets old and she dies. So her house is empty. And then eventually her niece moves into the house, and her niece, Olga, lives in the house for many years. But then Olga gets older and she decides to live somewhere else. So she sells the house to another man named Brian Williams. So Olga sells the house to Brian Williams, and Brian Williams lives in the house. But the house is very old. So Brian wants to remodel the house. He wants to fix it up and change the way it looks. So he hires a carpenter to start fixing the house. And when the carpenter is fixing the house, he finds the money in the ceiling in the kitchen. The carpenter sees the can, he finds the money, and it's a lot of money. It's $150,000. That's a lot of money. And so he spends some of the money. He spends about $30,000 of the money. And then, because it's old money, the people at the store think it's strange. So they call the police because they see a very old money. And the police come and they find they find the carpenter, and they say, "Hey, where did you get this money?" And he explains that he found it in the house. And so then Brian Williams, he's the owner of the house. It's Brian's house. So Brian says, "Hey, that's my money. It was in my house." But some of the cans say Olga. So Olga says, "Hey, that's my money because it says my name. My aunt wanted to give that money to me. Louise, my aunt, wanted to give me that money, not to Brian, not to this carpenter." So they can't decide. So they have to go to a judge, and the judge has to decide. And here's where I will stop the story because I want to hear what you think. So whose money is it? Who should get the money? A judge has to decide, but I want you to tell me. Is it Olga's money? Is it Brian's money? Or is it the carpenter's money? The carpenter found the money. It's Brian's house, but some of the cans say this is Olga's money on it. So whose money is it? Who should get the money?